Well, hello everyone. It has been a while since I did a YouTube video. However, today I wanted to feature the FJ, and unfortunately for YouTube, for the next little while, it will be the last video. Just due to some practicality things and life changes, the FJ is going to be leaving social media probably for about a year. At that time, it might come back, not fully set in stone, but it will be gone for a bit. I'm going to be focusing more on the Bronco and then potentially even a full-size build towards the end of the summer. But what I wanted to do first is answer some questions that people have had about my FJ and things I've done since you've seen it in the past videos, namely to do with the 37s. Now, I did have a previous video where I went over the 37s. However, I had endorsed a product at the time that was meant to be very good and ended up being a nightmare. So a little disclaimer, there's a company out there that makes Tundra steering racks that are meant to just bolt into these trucks. I would personally stay away from that company. It was the worst product I have ever tried to put on the FJ. However, I have been through all that, and now I actually have this dialed for 37s. I'm back on an OEM steering rack for anybody who's asking, just threw a brand new one in there, and I haven't had any issues. So we're gonna talk about 37-inch tire fitment, and then we're just gonna play around and wheel, and you will actually get to see this in action. I've taken it out a number of times, but I've never had a camera along, and just sometimes it's nice to enjoy life without having to bring a camera with you. So, as for the changes, you've seen a lot of the exterior stuff on the FJ. A lot of it is the same. There might be a little bit different lighting. The tires, you will notice now, I had the Coopers on before in a 37 by 12.5. I switched to these Mickey Thompson Baja Boss ATs just for the winter performance, and honestly, a lot of people really like them. I've heard especially from people in Colorado and here in Alberta, and they seem to be a perfect tire for year-round. There's tons of siping, so they hold that snow well and grip nicely, but they're still aggressive and they still really work well in mud, and they've got a nice beefy sidewall. So overall, a great tire. They're not quite as aggressive looking as the mud terrains I had on before, but I would recommend these tires. The only downside is they are a little bit heavy, but depending on your setup, that might not be an issue. So what I have done also since previous videos is I have actually changed out my suspension. I am currently on Bilstein 8112s in the front, and you're going to have to excuse the fact that they're covered in salt at the moment and some grease just to keep them from getting any corrosion. But basically it's a reservoir shock. They have some really cool bump zones built into the shock. I will not be the best person to explain all of that, so you can go watch a video if you want to know that. And then in the back I have the Bilstein 8100s to match, and those are in external bypass shock with reservoirs as well. It's hard to sort of see them, but you can definitely look up some pictures online. So there's the shock, and then back here covered in snow is the reservoir. So they have been a really, really good suspension. They have some tech, as I mentioned, in them. The bump zones and stuff, they perform like nothing else I've run before. They're quite expensive, but I would say if you are just bombing along stuff all day, they are worth the money. Now, tied to that, when I was fitting the 37s, one thing that helps push your tires forward is caster. Now, if you do that from the upper control arm, sometimes if you push the caster too much, you'll actually start bringing it back towards the firewall. What I got are called BTF lower control arms. And what these do is, I've heard a few different statistics, but they move the whole ball joint angle and everything forward, giving you clearance to that firewall. So I had to tub the firewall, which I'll show you in a second. I had to do a body mount relocation. However, on the stock lower control arms, I was still rubbing a little bit. I was very close to clearing, but off-road turning, it was still just rubbing a little bit. So I got these BTF lower control arms, and that cured all of it. That extra caster and just moving it forward worked perfectly, and on-road, they drive well. It's hard to find reviews on them at the moment and how they drive. The Max Caster does change the feel of the steering a little bit, but on the highway, it's very nice and like, I don't know, it stays centered and winds don't push you around. It feels very solid. So for me, they have not caused any issues with the drivability. In some ways, I actually like it more. So that's my review sort of the BTF lowers. If you're trying to fit big tires like 37s, those would be my go-to. They just get you that extra clearance. Now, we will look in here because people do want to know if you try to fit 37s. My flares are gutted, so it clears that area. Then this whole section got chopped out by a body shop and professionally tubbed. That gives me so much more clearance because probably the factory firewall was right up here. And then the body mount relocation just tucks that as far back as possible. So I have zero rub here, even off-road. And then currently I have some bump stops I've been trying from Perry Parts. They're long travel ones, but they're a bit longer. And it's been a bit of a durability test because they're in contact with that lower control arm a lot. So we've been kind of working together to see how well they'll hold up. And today I've already been ripping over some stuff, and I don't know if I could quite jump this fully, but I am clearing and landing nice and softly without hurting anything with those bump stops. Now, if you wheel normally and don't go over big whoops and stuff, a smaller bump stop might be better, but I just want to keep the 37s out of the top here. Now, if I removed my flares, that would probably actually get me all the clearance I would need without that, but I just like the aesthetic look of the flares, so that is why I did it that way. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about, are 37s worth it? Because I've now had 37s for, what, 7 months or something? I'm going to be quite frank. If it is your wheeling vehicle, and also I will go on top of that, if you like wheeling in rocks, then I would say yes, they could be worth it. For your average person, however, the hit on gas mileage and somewhat on power, it's more sitting on the highway on like a windy highway with a headwind. That's where these tires will just kill the FJ. Also, your fuel range goes really low. So if I had been keeping this as my only vehicle, I would have probably done a long range tank and would have wanted to get a supercharger, but due to the Bronco, that was just not the route I went. So for 99% of people, I would say stay on a 35-inch setup, and if you stay on a light one, that is where FJs are just happiest. Now, if you wheel in rocks, as I said, there was one day that I didn't film, but we went and wheeled, and there were some big rocks and flexing out on that trail. And this thing just cleared everything because my ground clearance on 37s is quite impressive, and the big 37s just rolled over stuff and made it look like nothing. So if that is your type of wheeling and the FJ is more of a toy, then I would say it can definitely be worth it. Now, if you're a person who likes to look without flares, it also makes fitting them much easier because in the rear, I 100% clear except for plastic because of those flares. If I was keeping it for longer term, I would actually trim out part of that and do a custom mud flap setup. But for the uses it'll see for the next while, I won't do that. So that's my personal opinion. All your steering, everything is going to feel the extra weight and size of these tires. But if you just want to go full in, you can. Yeah, that's essentially for fitment what you have to do. You have to tub the firewall. If you want to go absolutely crazy and be able to just launch it off everything, you should probably tub the top of your fenders as well. Get rid of those flares. You need a body mount relocation. You will not get away with a body mount chop. And then I would highly recommend BTF lower control arms just to push that tire forward. So that's the fitment side of the FJ, and honestly, between the tires and the suspension, that's pretty much all I've changed. I added a transfer case skid plate from OK Expedition as well, just to give a little bit more protection, especially when playing in the rocks, which honestly with these tires, it is actually more fun in the rocks. You just lock it up and crawl, and it's never been my thing. I've always been more of a go fast type person, but I just added that skid plate just in case because my transfer case was just sitting there with that flimsy little stock one. So that's about all the changes to the FJ. So I think the plan is to now go wheel. I'm out here with a few friends. JT is behind the camera. His 4Runner's here. You guys have probably seen it in past videos. One of the sickest local 4th gens. He just got a new bumper, new headlights. The front end looks dope. He did some custom tubing on a C4 bumper. So he's out here. Then the other one you're going to see a decent bit of is Ian CRV. This thing is phenomenal because it did not cost very much, and when things don't cost that much, sometimes you're willing to send it a little bit harder, and he sends this thing like crazy. The fact that he keeps up with all of our built rigs on 35s and 37s is crazy. And then Colby's truck here, we affectionately call it the Overland Fridge because with the white topper, that's kind of what it looks like. It's on 37s. You don't see too many GMC Sierras on 37s that actually clear them. It took a lot of work, but it's actually quite a nice truck. It's maybe not the most capable because it doesn't have lockers and stuff, and it likes to kill it with traction control. But for being a full size, it gets around pretty well. So that's the crew for today. We're gonna go have some fun. You're gonna see sort of the last hurrah of the FJ for a while. If you have questions about the FJ build, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will get to all of them, and I will be posting the last content from today on Instagram as well, so you'll see some reels and photos there. But let's go have some fun. Guys, he's gonna send the CRV over quite a big bump.
Floor it!
That is floored.
Oh no.
Oh, he's actually cooking. I think it's broken.
Oh no.
Oh, no, it runs, but it is stuck. Just wait. I might be able to push it out. Very well good.
Oh, go, go! Ah! And now he's stuck again. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
That LR3 skid plate's just doing its job, man. Ian, post jump, how was that?
A lot more noise than I was expecting. We'll find out what kind of damage was done later.
I don't think it did anything. I think she just
There
rubbed.
was definitely some rubbing in the rear.
Your fenders are still attached?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. He's putting down the power. That's a huge bump there. Guys, it doesn't happen very often, but I am stuck. Look at this snow that I'm stuck in. It's this just keeps going down. So currently I am absolutely on my frame rails. I will prove it to you. This is with the locker and I am 100% on the frame rails and skid plates, so I'm probably gonna get JT to pull me out, and then he might try to get I might pull him up. So anyways, but this snow is crazy, and there's probably like at least 4 feet down, 5 feet maybe, because we're right up against an embankment where it's like drifted up. So I made it further than I thought though. Okay, I think pull me back.
All right.
For perspective here, here's the hole. There's my knees below it.
Go, Colby, go!
There's a mountain. Actually, that is gorgeous. That is very beautiful.
Me or the mountain?
You're beautiful too, but that mountain, beat you by a hair. But what
Yes, Ian!
Here we go.
Oh no. Oh, he made it!
Let's go! Just a few more feet. There we go. Park? It is a park. Oh, okay. Jared, do you want to let us know what's going on with the Chevy?
All right.
Here, I'll just pass it to you.
All right, so on Chevy, there's a bit of a common problem. These little shift bushing retainer things, like it's like a little plastic thing. Wow, it popped off, so it left Colby in reverse. So we put some zip ties around this, and Colby put it into reverse for us. And park. Sweet, we've got her all fixed up with a couple of zip ties. Should get us home. Back to Matt.
It's always a good idea to wheel with a mechanic, so choose your friends wisely.
That was my best line.
That is the best walking line.
Did you get a video of that?
Yeah. Anyways, this is the legal crossing area for this area. They had a biologist come through and make sure there's absolutely nothing in here. This is just runoff from a waterfall. So come spring, all of this water disappears, even though it looks like it's a proper flowing river. This will all be gone in the spring. Comes the CRV. And the rules for the area are just to go through this kind of in a straight shot, but sometimes you have to slightly alter that just for the line you need for coming up here. There we go. That was nice and easy. That was the big Chevy. Go. So, as you can kind of guess, today's video is a little bit about sending it. And what I'm walking up right now is a very large berm that people... Whoa, 1 second. I'm sliding. I'm not sure if this is going to show it. I'll try to descend and maybe it will. But people drive up it. Well, right now it's covered in snow, so nobody has. It connects one trail to another. So Jared has his 4Runner full of camping gear, so he's not sure if he's going to clear it. The FJ, I'm guessing, will, now that it's on 37s, because when it was on 35s, it hit its skid plates, but it did make it over. But we want to see, can the CRV get over this hill? And I'm not sure. I don't know if the lighting is letting me see it, but it is right there. So let's see if the 4Runner makes it over. Oh yeah. Maybe used a little skid plate, but that was easy. Yeah, just smoked some of the rocks here, just a little bit. But the question is, can the CRV make it over? quite impressive. I think it did just about as well as the 4Runner.
What if I went slow, it would have got it. Short wheelbase things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Chevy's not going to try it just because he is long and has an exhaust that sort of hangs down and he doesn't want to squish it. But very impressive of the CR-V, even though he dragged a little bit more than the two Toyotas. But the FJ on 37 basically cleared it. I think maybe the transfer case skid plate just touched slightly. So hopefully today's video captured the amount of fun we had. We had an absolute blast out here. Now it's hard not having a dedicated camera person to capture everything, but you saw the CR-V jump, some of the deep snow that we were playing in. So we had a lot of fun. Now this was my first time actually properly taking the FJ through whoops with the 37s, and I'm actually happy to report that I clear. Maybe not if I was to fully leave the ground and hit like full bump, but I was able to get very rowdy. So today actually the setup worked phenomenally, actually better than I expected. You'll hear some rubbing in the video, and as mentioned before, that's just the plastic rear flares. I actually pulled the metal bracket out there of the sort of mud flap where it mounts to the flare. So any rubbing you hear is just on plastic. It doesn't hurt the tire. So if I was to wheel it constantly, I would probably just shave that part down and then it would be rub free. But the front end did not rub at all. So as I mentioned before, it's just getting that extra clearance to that whole firewall area and having that cut out. It just cleared 100%. So I don't know what the next video will be. It won't be for a little bit, just life has been throwing a lot my way, but I'm sure you'll see my friends and I just getting up to some of these same antics in the future. Have a good one.